Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for waiting around. A long night, a successful night, and another great performance by the miracle man, Daniel Jacobs. I think what you saw tonight was the difference between a world-class middleweight and an elite middleweight. A beautiful performance, masterclass, out of the ring for 8 months. A little bit rusty, but you're not going to see the rust again. Already planning the next date for 2018. It'll be announced very, very soon. And I'm going to pass over to the miracle man, Daniel Jacobs, to say a few words.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys sticking around. I really felt like when I heard him in the first round, that was kind of a gift and a curse. Honestly, I wanted to go for the knockout, not just because I knew I could hurt him, but because of all the stuff that he was talking. I guess it was just in me just to stop him and prove a point. But in doing that, I could have did a little bit better as far as being sharp, but like my promoter said, we've been out the ring for a couple months, and it's only about getting sharp and staying active and making sure that that doesn't repeat itself. Much respect to Luis Arias and his team, but I did go out there and prove the point that I wanted to prove, which is that there's level to this game, and he was outmatched, and I knew the attributes that I brought to the table, that he wasn't able to deal with it, and that's exactly what we showed. I'm looking forward to bigger and better things. The future is very, very bright. Even though this, to me, wasn't the best performance, I'm looking forward to having the best performance in the near future. So, thank you guys, always, and we can go to some questions.
Danny, not sure if you caught the tail end of his post-fight, but John David Jackson had a lot to say. He said you were a cruiserweight in the ring, essentially, and then he made a big deal that you came in, you know, huge, like in a whole different weight class than Lewis do. I know you hate being, you know, getting that accusation post the Triple G fight. That's been a big thing of you not weighing in on the scale. Can you make a comment on that?
Well, I mean, I make middleweight, and I'm probably the biggest middleweight because I skip leg day. You see my legs, I'm skinny at the bottom and I'm big up top, right? So it's not my fault, that's just the way things work, but I'm just a really big middleweight, and I can make it easy. This camp for me was the easiest, a big shout out to Chris Algieri. This camp was the easiest that I've made 160. I was able to have breakfast the morning of the weigh-in. I was able to feel good and feel strong. I can't help it if I'm a big middleweight, but that's not an excuse for anyone, because if you're an elite, then you're elite and you know how to avoid certain shots, and I don't think he was really able to avoid much. I mean, he held and he grabbed and, you know, he ducked and dodged, but I'm just an elite fighter. It just so happens I'm one of the biggest middleweights in the world.
Danny,
yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Arias held a lot. Did the referee ever address that, you know, when he was speaking to you guys? Because it didn't seem like it to me.
Yeah, I think the referee, he gave him a couple warnings. I would have liked him to give him a lot more warnings, but the referee did a stellar job, no complaints. He was in survival mode from the first round on. Once he got hurt, he was in survival mode. And it's really hard to stop a guy who's like experienced with the survival skills. He was grabbing, he was ducking, he was holding, and I really wanted to display my skills, and my trainer kept telling me, put your combinations together, start from the body, because that's where he would start when he started holding. I just started a little headhunting a little bit too much, but you know, it's just about the experience, and I gained a lot more experience in this fight than I've done in my previous fights for that reason alone.
Danny, was he better defensively than you thought, or would you not even say that he was being defensive because he was so looking to survive? How do you see
Yeah, I don't think it was, because when you know, there's a difference from being defensive and trying to really survive. I mean, he swayed a couple punches, but like I said, I was really aiming to get the knockout. So at times it seems as if I was swinging and missing, it's because I was really anxious. But I don't think he was the best defensive guy that I've fought. But he did a really good job at holding and surviving. I give him that. But he didn't pose any threat. He didn't hurt me at any time in the fight, and I was able to see all the shots. You know, he wasn't that fast of a guy. I just think I could have done better, but I did think I put on a good performance. A nice, strong 12 rounds for me, and getting that experience where people think I'm this huge knockout artist. You know, it just shows my diversity.
Danny, were you surprised that he didn't stand in the middle of the ring like
Yes, I am. I think he fooled all you guys too. Like, I think with the lead up and build up to this fight, I think you guys really, as well as I did, thought he was going to stand in the middle of the ring and bang it out. So the first round, my mindset, I was going to be a little precautious and kind of, be a little bit more defensive than I normally am. But when I started seeing him going backwards, when I wasn't really posing a threat, I said, okay, I see what type of party this is going to be. And it was actually worse than I thought, so.
I got 2 questions here. Danny, first, congrats on the performance.
Thanks, Al.
And at what point in the fight did you realize, all right, this dude is in straight survival mode, and I'm really not going to be able to stop, so let me just close the show, win every round comfortably. Did you feel that way at any point in the fight?
Maybe the second half of the fight, I knew that, because I thought that him being inexperienced and going 12 rounds, that I might get him in the 11th or 12th or 10th round in the championship rounds. But he was able still to survive, and even though I hurt him a couple times in the fights in the later portion, yeah, and that's credit to my trainer. He told me to go down to the body because every time I go for the head, the guy ducks down and holds, and he just had survival skills. I mean, there's nothing I can say about it. I mean, it was just a learning experience.
My second question is for Eddie. What do you think of Danny's performance, with you been working with him with this first fight?
I think it was a masterclass. I think he was trying a bit hard too early. There's a lot of pressure on him tonight, and I know that he says a great line at the press conference, it's not my first rodeo, which is true, but also, he wants to impress, he was keen to impress, and I think if Arias would have boxed the fight that he said he was going to fight, you would have seen a different performance, but what you saw was a masterclass from an elite middleweight, and this game is very tough, so to come out 12 rounds unscathed, really untouched, unmarked, and making a lot of money is really what this game's about. It's a very, very tough sport, and these fighters deserve every dollar they get, and they need to know exactly what the plan is. And the plan tonight was 12 rounds, win every round, have a couple of weeks off, back to the gym. And that's what it goes. Bank the performance, bank the money, move on to world titles. That's what it's all about. It's a very, very professional performance from Danny against a good young fighter. I think he realised that he was a bit out of his depth during the fight, but he's a good young fighter, Luis Arias. But what you saw was an elite middleweight. So I saw what I knew, which is Danny Jacobs is one of, in my opinion, the best middleweight in the world. And you'll see his level rise, as you do always, when he steps up against the even better guys.
I mean, hey, listen, I just think, to add to what he's saying, I just think you can't really knock out everyone, but I showed, bits and pieces of my different attributes. I think once he got a feel of the power, that's when I was able to put my combinations together in the later portions of the round. So that's early on when I said the pressers and the building up of this fight that I wanted to show my levels. And even though I could have done a better job, I do feel like I did just that.
I think he realized in the first round that he's outclassed.
Yeah.
I seen it in his face. When you said it in the post interview, you said, it takes a while to let go of some of that anger and that anxiousness. Is he still there now? Or are you going to go on?
No, I just finished seeing his mom, and she came up and we spoke, and we said there's nothing but love and respect. Like at the end of the day, we human, and the back and forth talk, it's going to get under my skin, but I respect him.
Did you want to say on camera, who ran now?
No, that's not it. That's not. No, I would never disrespect him. My skills spoke for me inside that ring, and that's really at the end of the day what it's all about.
Your speed, and you looked really fast. The speed was really impressive.
I felt good, and I was able to utilize my jab a lot more, which my trainer loves, because in the last fight we kind of strayed away from that. And I think just adding different pieces to the puzzle as we get in this experience. So I don't look at 12 rounds with a guy who many feel like I could have stopped as a defeat or a loss. I look at it as progression.
But what it is that no one really knows him because he's never fought anybody. So we don't know if he could even be stopped.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing too. I've said leading up to this fight that you have to respect a guy like this because a lot of people in the inner circle, the boxing world, know this guy and he has respect amongst the boxing community. He's just not known to the world. And that's why I had to be on my A game and expect, his very best.
Congratulations, Daniel.
Thank you.
I know this week you've been sort of avoiding looking further than Luis Arias and giving him the respect that he deserves.
Absolutely.
Now that's done, who would be your number one target if Eddie Hearn could make something happen for you?
My number one target. I mean, how do you say a number one target in a division with so many different great contenders and champions? Obviously, I want to go for the best. But if it doesn't happen, then we have a list full of guys that we can pursue. And it's ultimately about really what the fans want and what makes sense.
With David Lemieux, Billy Joe Saunders being tied up, as we spoke about,
Yeah.
looks like Canelo Golovkin's going to be potentially tied up. Does that leave Charlo? Would that be a fight to tick your box?
Charlo, like I've said before, I want to fight the very best. And Charlo just moving up to the middleweight division. You know, some would say he has a lot to work for. Some would say he hasn't really proven anything to be calling out these big names and stuff like that. But I'll definitely give him a shot.
What about some of the British guys who just had that exposure back in the UK?
Yeah.
There's some great middleweights back on the UK shores, the likes of Martin Murray. I'm sure you would jump on an opportunity. Does that interest you? Does that tick your box?
I'm not sure if Martin Murray makes sense. I think that's going a little bit further down the line. I respect him, but I just think we want fights that make sense. We want fights that's going to catapult our careers to the next level, not fights where people expect us to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a lot of success out of the southpaw position. I think maybe even the knockdown occurred when you had switched to southpaw.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot. It was a. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I forgot I knocked him down.
Is that something that maybe we can see come out earlier in your fights, or do you wish you had kind of switched around earlier? Because it seemed to confuse him.
Well, I mean, I just really, once my jab was flowing, I just stuck to what worked. And I switched southpaw to see if I can get the knockout because I wanted to go for overhand left. But it's just how I feel in the middle of the ring. It's how I feel in the moment, and it comes out when it's necessary. But I love switching southpaw. As you've seen, I've been doing it my whole entire career. I'm pretty good at it. I could be better, right, Pops? Could be a lot better, but boxing is a forever going learning process, and I'm always going to be a student of the game.
But it seems like you're more effective from the southpaw stance. Could you fight an entire fight?
I believe I can fight an entire fight, but you got to understand.
Not yet.
All right, RJ.
Don't talk my baby.
All right.
Don't talk my baby into trying it. Not yet.
But see, you got to understand, I have respect for this game. And when you're at an elite level, you have to fight elite. And fighting an entire fight southpaw, I don't know. I mean, I would love to do it, but, you know, I have to choose wisely who I do it against.
After fighting Triple G and seeing, you know, Triple G and Canelo, do you still consider Triple G the scorpion of the division?
No, I think I'm the scorpion of the division. I just think I'm now the most avoided guy, where Triple G had that claim. But like I said before, my job is really to continue that ladder because I don't cry over spilled milk, and I hate talking about, I felt like I won the fight, I felt like, and then people, you know, it's just a forever going argument. But I'm going to continue. Now that I have this new chapter, I'm in a great position, you know. We're chasing these guys, but we don't need these guys. We're going to do what we have to do because at the end of the day, as long as I do what I have to do in the ring and win, it's going to be by popular demand. And they're not going to have a corner to run to because, you know, the people speaks for, you know, what's real.
Danny, to use
Yes, sir.
an expression you like to use, what level do you see yourself on right now?
Right now, what level? I mean, I'm at the top level, I believe. I'm just a little rusty now, but in my next fight, I think I'll be a lot more sharper, depending on who we fight. I think you'll be able to see the same skills and more.
One of three. That's the answer. That's the level.
Danny, how soon do you want to get back in there? You keep talking about the rust. How many months?
We're going to be back in there in April. We're going to have the date, the venue, and the specifics. What, in a week's time? Couple days? Yeah. And that gives me great confidence to know that I can plan when I'm going to be back in the gym. I can plan my life. I can plan certain things and not have to worry about that. I'm in a really, really great position.
Daniel, you seem relentless in there, like you just walked through Lewis Arias and not worrying about what was coming back at times.
Yeah.
Having been with Golovkin, does that give you a confidence that you can take what these guys are going to throw at you? When you're not
Absolutely.
worried as well?
When you've taken the best punch that people consider the boogeyman, it gives you that extra level of confidence that you can take punch from, you know, anyone. You know, I take a really good shot, and this, what Arias is saying with this whole I have a weak chin, he had an opportunity to hit me and hurt me and do all these different things. He didn't do it. And even when he landed a big shot, I came right at him. You know, sometimes I was doing certain moves and abandoning my defense just to show him, like, come on, I want to fight. I want to do exactly what you say. I don't want to run. And I never took a step backwards.
Eddie, could we expect to see, I know you came all the way from the UK to showcase.
I like that hat, man. That's Batman hat.
That's what it is, man. I know you came to showcase Danny Jacobs tonight. Danny, great performance.
Thank you, brother.
Also, we saw Jarrell, Big Baby Miller in there. He spoke about Dillian White, the possibility of that fight happening, and HBO being involved with Danny. I'm sure he didn't get involved with that network, neither did you, not to say that Luis Arias isn't a big name, but we could expect to see a bigger name opponent in April alongside Danny and maybe a Dillian White, Jarrell Miller situation. Could you talk about that possibility? Because, I mean, it would seem that you wanted to showcase him to a British UK audience, and as much as, I mean, we already know Danny here. So
yeah, I mean, I think that the UK audience is very mature now in terms of boxing. There's a lot more fanatical audience in the UK than there is in America in terms of knowledge, in terms of, they'll be sitting up tonight watching Danny Jacobs box at 4 o'clock in the morning. And, there's no plans to box in the UK yet. We're not going to rule that out, but his next fight will be in Brooklyn. And Jarrell Miller's a part of the plan as well, because, I think the Dillian White fight's a great fight as well. In terms of Danny stepping up to the next level, he's quite right. We will do what we want to do, but we understand we have to provide good quality fights and fights that people are interested in. In an ideal world, he'd fight Golovkin next. And if that was available and the rematch didn't happen, maybe we do that. If not, we'd like to fight the winner of Saunders Lemieux. If we can't do that, maybe we fight Charlo. If we can't do that, maybe we fight someone else. But we are also governed by our network, who won't just let us fight, Tom, Dick or Harry. It's going to have to be a top quality middleweight. And, Danny Jacobs, one thing he's shown time and time again is he'll fight anyone. It's not a case of, he'll be turning down opponents. But, we need the right opponent. But this is about building Danny Jacobs into a position where the fight is unavoidable for the likes of Canelo and Golovkin. We're not sitting out here saying, hopefully we get a shot against these guys. Like, no disrespect to Lemieux and Saunders, I see Danny Jacobs on a whole new level to those guys in terms of ability and hopefully in terms of profile as well and draw. So that's the level we want to get to, where actually they're coming to us saying, is there any chance of a shot with Danny?
Having fought Golovkin, some would say it will be fair.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, he's nowhere near the size of the star he should be after that Golovkin performance. Okay? So in my opinion, he beat Golovkin. In other people's, maybe it was a draw. Maybe it was 1 round to Golovkin. But you couldn't split the fight. So there's this guy who is supposed to be this animal, this superstar in Gennady Golovkin. And here's a guy who has bundles more charisma, just as much talent. He's from Brooklyn. He should be absolutely mobbed on every street in New York State. Yeah. So that's really my job. And if I would have had him leading into the Golovkin fight, maybe we'd be in that position now. But we're building as well. We're not just building in the ring. We're building outside of the ring.
Eddie,
So
why don't you think those things have happened for him since the Golovkin fight?
Sorry?
Why haven't those things happened?
Because he didn't have a promoter behind him. Because he didn't have activity behind him. You can't come out of a fight like that and a performance like that and not scream and shout. And he's not the kind of guy to scream and shout, but you need a vehicle behind you to push you and make noise. That we should have won that fight, that we want the rematch, that we're the best middleweight in the world. That's just standard behaviour, standard promotional literature.
Yeah, this deal with Eddie seems like it makes sense. After the fight week and now the fight is over, like how's the experience with Eddie?
This is the most promotion I've received, I think, in my the last 3 months. I was out in dinner last night. They were showing my commercial about 4 or 5 times in between the NBA games. So, it's just stuff like that that I feel like, it's going to catapult my career to the next level. Having a guy investing into me and a network investing to promoting me, and it just makes sense. And I'm glad it came at the perfect time.
Eddie, I'm not sure if Joe DeGuardia is here, but Danny and Demetrius Andre have history, having fought previously in the amateurs and things of that nature. Star Boxing, you just co-promoted a show with him. How feasible is that fight taking place?
Yeah, again, no disrespect to Demetrius Andrade, and I put Charlo in the same bracket as well, and I put Saunders in the bracket and Lemieux in the bracket. I see Danny Jacobs as a level beyond those guys. Doesn't mean we won't fight them, because they're very good fighters. But we're really trying to establish ourselves as the major name in the division. And that's why I said about the 3, because I really feel like there is a 3, and that is Canelo, Golovkin, and Danny Jacobs. That's, for me, the big 3 in the division. Doesn't mean we won't fight Andrade, Charlo, Lemieux, but our plan is to be in the mix with those guys. So we want to make sure that we are up there as a brand, as a fighter, you know. So yeah, Andrade. At the end of the day, I don't decide who Danny Jacobs fights. You know, we'll speak to the network, then we'll sit down with Keith, we'll put it forward to Danny and the training team, and ultimately they'll make a decision. But we're doing our own thing. We're not really chasing anyone in particular. We're going to do our own thing.
Eddie, before the fight, you said if Jarrell Miller beat Marius Wack convincingly or impressively, you might be in line for an Anthony Joshua shot. After tonight, where you...
It was a good win. I mean, look, this is the Danny press conference, but, you know, Marius Wack, TKO 9, is a very, very solid scribe on a heavyweight's career. You know, he's been beaten a couple of times by top-level guys, Vladimir Klitschko, Povetkin. These are top. And Jarrell wore him down. I think Jarrell has a lot of learning to do. I think he shouldn't be stepping in just yet. He needs 1 or 2 more before he gambles. And again, I'd like to see him bank the money. You know, this is a tough sport. Bank the money before you gamble. And that's what Jarrell Miller needs to do. He needs to come back. I'd love him to box on our card in April. He's from Brooklyn as well. You know, he's an exciting heavyweight. He would have learned so much fighting the likes of Marius Wack. But again, Marius Wack TKO 9 is a very, very impressive win and puts him probably 1 or 2 steps away from fighting for the world heavyweight title.
Danny. Did you notice Arias favoring his foot because he said he had a blister and his sock?
Oh, he had a blister now?
No, he really does. I mean, I think he does, yeah.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those pesky blisters.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if he didn't run, then, or if he had met me in the middle, he wouldn't have had
surgery on that blister now.
surgery on it.
Danny,
Much respect to
he
Arias.
actually left with his foot in a splint. It was on top of the foot.
Yeah, man, listen, you know, at the end of the day, it speaks for itself. Yeah.
Danny, can you describe your experience at Nassau Coliseum for the first time?
It's been amazing. I've loved the experience. You know, Brooklyn spread love. That's my motto. And I would love to fight all over the world. I love to fight and give people who haven't had an opportunity to see me fight live. You know, so coming to the islands, I'm still a New Yorker, still have people come out and show support and give these Long Islanders a great show. I really felt that's what we did. We accomplished. Me and Baby Miller put on a great show for the fans along with the rest of the other cards. And I look forward to continuing that legacy. I think, you know, Barclays Center obviously makes more sense because that's where I have my biggest draw. And, you know, we really have opportunity to sell this one out. But, you know, that's about building our brand. And that's really the experience that we have. And we're going to continue to climb that ladder. I'm glad that I had an opportunity to come in Nassau Coliseum and perform in front of these people.
Eddie, what's your assessment of your first show here in the U.S. and moving forward? What would you do differently?
It's a great learning experience, and you know, I want to thank obviously our team at Matchroom, done a great job, and the co-promoters on the show as well, Solita Promotions, Joe LaGuardia, Rock Nation, Golden Boy. I think that's a marker for us that we're willing to work with anybody in boxing and not let the politics of the game spoil fights for the fans. Again, working with partners like HBO, Sky Sports, Brooklyn Boxing. I want to thank Brett Yormack, Anthony Cantanzaro, and all the team at Brooklyn. Gina up the back there.
And my man Keith Connolly.
Keith, yeah, well, I haven't got onto him, man. But Brooklyn Boxing, you know, what I've found is there's very few venues that really drive the action, and Brooklyn Boxing do it. What have I found about the market? Too early to say. Little bit of a lack of noise but I'm comparing it to the UK fans who are crazy, who are dancing around, singing, jumping around, and you know that's going to take time to understand. But everybody's got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a heartbeat, and they love a great time. And boxing's the greatest sport in the world. So I feel like tonight was a nice, solid start for us. I think we'll be back in the city for the next fight, and quite right as Danny says, Keith Connolly, thank you very much for all your help. There's few managers who care as much for their fighters as Keith Connolly.
I agree.
And you'd think that actually he was Danny's dad rather than his manager, but he's done a wonderful job for Danny Jacobs, and it's great working with both of them.
So for now, it's just a New York thing?
No, we're going to be doing 4 shows. Look, my deal is I'm not exclusive with HBO. Okay, Danny Jacobs is exclusive with HBO. So we'll see where it takes Matchroom Boxing USA. Had 24 phone calls in the last 2 months from big name American fighters wanting to sign with Matchroom. I can't give them what they need. There's a big problem with American fighters that don't have the activity, and it's hurting them inside the ring and it's hurting them outside the ring. So Daniel Jacobs is the flag bearer for Matchroom Boxing. He's the ambassador for Matchroom Boxing, and we're going to put all our focus into him right now, and we'll see where it takes our business. But I don't want to start signing 20 fighters and promising this and promising that, and they're only boxing once a year, and I can't really get behind them. I can't deliver them the TV days. That's no good for anyone. So luckily for Danny, he gets our full attention for now. And listen, maybe in 6 months' time, maybe in a year's time, we've got 12 days a year. I need 12 to 16 dates a year from a network. That's what I need.
Thank you. Eddie, any conflicts with Frank Warren and Saunders in regards to British TV?
Yeah, listen, I haven't got the best relationship, but I'd still work with Frank Warren, no problem. But, you know, I think Saunders has shown his willingness to travel. You know, I don't know how long he's got left on his contract with Warren, but he's willing to go to Canada. So I don't see why he wouldn't be willing to come to New York for a payday. I know Billy Joe Saunders very well. I talk to him often. And he's a little bit crazy, but he likes, as we say in Britain, he likes a pound note, which means he likes $1. So again, Billy's a very good fighter and he's world champion, but I don't perceive him to be like Daniel Jacobs, you know, and but he has a belt. And, you know, all this building the brand, all this sort of stuff, we're still in it for the glory. Right. We're still in it for the belts. You know, as much as Danny wants to be a star and listen to me talking and building him up, he wants a belt around his waist.
Very true.
So that's the end goal. But we're only in the short term now. I have one more question if anyone's got one, guys.
What were you saying to him during the fight? Were you saying don't run?
Yes, I was. That's exactly what I was saying. And then I was pointing to the ground. You know, when you make your foot go across, like, hey, listen, this is where I'm going to be. I said, don't run. Why are you running? He said, I'm not running. I'm boxing. And I was thinking in my head, that's the same thing I was doing with Triple G, but you was calling that running. But, you know, I called this bluff, and you guys were able to see exactly what I was saying, that there's levels to this game. I have nothing but respect for that young man, him and his family. He was a great opponent, but I went out and showed that there was levels to this game. And we're going to do better each and every time out. I just want to thank my team, Team Jacobs, Andre Rozier, Victor Roundtree, up in heaven, that's my trainer. God bless him, I miss him. Anthony Irons, Chris Algieri, Mike Rella, my main man, Scooty Scoot, my conditioning trainer, and my brother from another, Keith Connolly. I just want to thank everybody for always making sure that, you know, I'm in the best space possible to give my best. You know, boxers go through so much. I mean, you guys only see 36 minutes inside the ring, but it's a lot that goes on the outside. And to have a family that really genuinely care about you and support you like their own, I mean, it's priceless. So I just want to thank my team. Thank you, guys.
I'd just like to say as well, great job, coach. Great job, Chris Algieri as well. Great job on the way. And Scooter, I'll tell you what, I've not seen a fighter work that hard over 12 rounds and still not be breathing. Well done. Well done, guys. Thanks for the
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Back all that shit up.
Eddie, is there a date to talk again now? Just leave it open. Hey, we'll talk in a week or two.
No, it's cool. Don't worry about it. No, it's cool. No, I wouldn't do it. That's cool.